Hello and welcome to another episode of Brettcast Movie and TV Talk. This episode I'm going to be taking a break from DC animated movies to hit up a movie that I've been wanting to see, but I've also been putting off seeing, and I'm not really sure why I've been doing that. But I have finally watched it, and I'm finally going to be talking about Godzilla vs. Kong. Remember, there will be spoilers. The movie starts with Kong doing his morning routine, and then a little girl shows up with a doll of him, and then Kong throws a tree, which shows us that Kong is being held in a containment facility that is meant to look like Skull Island, but obviously is not actually Skull Island. We then see two characters talk about needing a better place to hold Kong, but it can't be off-site, because they know that Godzilla will come for him, and then we get the opening credit. We go to a guy who is recording a podcast in his car saying he's going to get hard evidence about what the company Apex Cybernetics has been doing, and that happens to be the place that he works at. He goes in and annoys an employee till they go to the bathroom, in which he's now able to get to the guy's computer and find the evidence he mentioned earlier. An alarm goes off because there's a Titan on the loose, and yep, it's Godzilla, because Godzilla is attacking this cybernetics place. The podcast guy decides to go with the folks heading to level 2, and almost gets killed from a Godzilla breath blast, which also reveals a cylindrical metal object with a red spot that doesn't look anything like a giant robot eye. We catch up a little bit with main character guy from King of the Monsters, who I don't remember the name of, and they don't bother to tell us the name of. We then flip to a meeting between three guys, all of which I don't know the names of, and they don't say the names of. One of them used to work for Monarch, and the other two guys ask the other guy to help them get to the Hollow Earth because they assume something is down there that will help them in dealing with Godzilla, because now Godzilla is the enemy. The guy agrees to help them because, what else does he have going on in his life? Anyway, he goes to the folks staying at Kong's containment because his plans involve using Kong to lead them to this Hollow Earth. And that is a really poorly explained thing at this point, what their plan is. But they load Kong onto a ship and transport him wherever they're going. Then Lady from Apex shows up to tell them that the vehicles they're going to be using are already where they need to be. I'm glad we wasted a line of dialogue on that. We get a touching scene between Kong and the daughter of Scientist Lady that was at the containment facility, which leads to the reveal that Kong knows how to say home in sign language. We then go to two characters that they don't tell us the name of that decide to go on a trip to find Bernie, the podcast guy who we finally know the name of. They go to a restaurant to discuss the Godzilla attack on the Apex facility, and they formulate an idea to break into Apex because that's a great idea. We go back to the ship with Kong, and things go downhill when Godzilla decides to attack them. We don't see much of it because they keep cutting to people trying to escape the flipped over ship, but Kong flips it back over. Kong jumps to another ship and throws a jet at Godzilla, who comes out of the water to fight, but then gets punched right back into the water, and then Godzilla does a breath blast upwards under the ship, which Kong narrowly dodges, but also jumps into the water. He gets dragged down by Godzilla until they suggest using depth charges to disorientate Godzilla, and it works. Kong gets back on this ship, and is pretty beat up. The ship cuts power, so Godzilla will assume that he's won, and it works, and Godzilla just goes away. We go back to the crew breaking into Apex because this is the storyline we care about, guys. They find a mysterious elevator that takes them lower. They go into what they assume is a room full of skullcrawler eggs, but then this thing starts moving, and it says it's going to Hong Kong and is going 600 miles per hour. We go back to the crew with Kong, who is being transported via several helicopters. They use Scientist Lady's daughter to convince Kong to go into the hollow earth cave looking area, so they then follow him in their weird Tron vehicles, and they go through some portal thing, and they all almost die when they come out the other side, but their Tron vehicles start working again before they go splat. Everything is going great before some flying creatures attack, but it's all good because Kong deals with them. They reach a spot where gravity is all kinds of weird, and Kong just jumps and floats across. Sure, why not? The plot has been stupid and silly up to this point, so let's keep it going. But that adventure gets cut off, and we go back to Bernie's crew as the thing that they're in reaches its destination. They continue going forward and reach a place where we learn is where Apex is testing Mechagodzilla, and Bernie's crew arrived when they're about to do a test, which involves releasing a scroll caller, but Mechagodzilla easily defeats it. We go back to the more fun plot line, and Kong leads our crew to a giant stone door that he opens by pushing on it. On the inside, the place looks like a coliseum, and Kong picks up an axe. He then uses said axe to make blue stuff appear on the floor. Go back to Bernie's crew, and they find what remains of Ghidorah, which is his skull, which is what Apex is using to interface with Mechagodzilla. Sure, why not? I feel like you would need the brain for that, but I guess the skull works. Speaking of Godzilla, he changed his course and is heading to Hong Kong, which is where Mechagodzilla is. Back to the others. As I said, Kong places the axe on the floor and makes blue stuff appear, and then Godzilla knows of what happens because he's just in the ocean and does a breath blast straight down into the earth. The Apex people use a small machine to take a sample of the blue stuff on the floor, in which Scientist Lady and her daughter don't want them doing, but you know what, they do it anyway, and then they get in their Tron vehicle and they fuck right off. The info goes to the guys at the Mechagodzilla testing facility at Apex. The Apex people try to leave the hollow earth, but Kong's in the way, so they just shoot him, and that pisses him off, so he grabs their Tron vehicle and he explodes it in his hand and squishes them, of course. Godzilla's breath beam reaches the hollow earth where Kong and crew are. Kong takes the axe and heads up for a fight, and this is what we've been waiting for all movie. They show a good portion of this fight before cutting to Scientist Lady and crew escaping hollow earth in their Tron vehicle. Kong uses the axe to get a good hit on Godzilla, and he looks pretty beat up. Oh, by the way, Bernie's crew ends up getting discovered at the Mechagodzilla testing facility. Back to the showdown, and the fight continues, and it's pretty awesome. Godzilla ends up pinning down Kong, and the two yell at each other before Godzilla just walks away from the fight. I think it's for the better though, because Kong is basically almost dead. Back to Bernie and crew, and they're powering up Mechagodzilla, but there's an issue with the pilot connection and they lose control of it, so Mechagodzilla is now functioning all on its own. It breaks out and goes up to start fighting Godzilla, and yeah, it's pretty epic until they cut away from the fight to show that Kong is still alive, but he's dying. And other guy that was with Scientist Lady and her daughter uses the Tron vehicle to blow it up, which restarts Kong's heart? Sure, I guess? I don't know. At this point, Godzilla and Kong have to work together to defeat Mechagodzilla, who's doing a damn good job against Godzilla. Kong gets his axe, which helps a bit. Bernie and crew have been trying and failing at methods to shut down Mechagodzilla until one of their guys pours liquid all over the console and shorts it out, which shorts out Mechagodzilla. And that's what they needed to have Godzilla and Kong overpower and defeat. The movie ends with Godzilla walking off back into the ocean, and Kong just stands there watching, and then Kong gets a new place to call call home, and he loves it, and that's... So what do I personally think about Godzilla vs. Kong? First thing that comes to mind is how there was a lot of really cool locations that, yeah, I know that there's CGI, visual effects stuff, but hey, the artists did a really good job here. The CGI overall is just really good in this movie, as to be expected with a movie of monsters of this scope. The sound was also done really well. I watched this on my computer with headphones on, and the sound, it would be very directional, like it would go left and right constantly. It was pretty cool, actually, and it made the experience of watching the movie all the better. Speaking of sound, something I didn't like much was the score of the movie. This was done by Tom Holkenberg, the guy that scored Zack Snyder's Justice League, the 4-hour one. I just, compared to Alexander Desplat's score for the 2014 Godzilla, Bear McCreary's Godzilla King of the Monsters score, and Henry Jackman's Kong Skull Island score, I just didn't like this one as much. But, we can all agree that Bear McCreary's was the best. And when you lead with, a rendition of the Godzilla song with the guys from System of a Down doing it, you're gonna win. The plot itself is pretty silly, if you ask me. Yeah, let's use Kong because we assume that he knows exactly how to get back to the Hollow Earth because it's where he and Godzilla are from. Sounds like a great idea, right? But then getting to the Hollow Earth requires Tron vehicles and going through weird portal things, which is the only way to get there. And that's why they needed the weird Tron vehicles, because they are the only things to withstand the pressure, which no one ever tested, but sure, let's just try it, because plot. I did like that there was not any stupid, human plots like the last movie with the estranged father relationship garbage that we didn't need. The humans in this movie feel like they're really only there to get us to the monster fights, which is fine. I'm fine with that, because the monster fights are amazing when we get to see them. One thing I don't like is there was a distinct lack of character introductions or reintroductions. Aside from Bernie, I could not tell you the name of most of the characters in this movie because they either don't introduce them as the new characters by name, or I just don't remember character names from the previous movies because they're not that memorable. But here's the thing, if you watch this movie or any of the other ones, 2014 Godzilla, King of the Monsters, or Kong Skull Island, and you watch them expecting a good, coherent plot, you are watching these movies for the wrong reason. They're ridiculous, big, over-the-top, dumb monster movies, and that's all they need to be. And they're fun. However, I do hope that this is the last of these movies for a while. Godzilla vs. Kong is an average and enjoyable movie. That's all I have to say, so if you want to end the conversation, leave a comment below. As always, thanks for listening, and goodbye.